If she wants to, sure. Um, okay. Good morning. With the help of Hashem, we are learning Yerushalmi Brachos Pei Gimel Halachi Gimel in the Ois V'Hadars edition. We are going to Daf Lamed Zayin. We left off on Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the top of the Amud, beginning with the Gemara. We're going to review the Mishnah in a moment. Actually, we learned the Mishnah yesterday, Rabbi Chaim L'Shitas Toisvis, and there's a big machlokes Rashi and Toisvis and Bavli that I'll speak out concerning the minor. We're going to start. This is an unbelievable daf. We're going to learn first in the Gemara, after we'll review the Mishnah again. Why exactly are women exempt from what the Mishnah wrote, from Shema and from Tefillin? Why are they obligated in Tefillah, Mezuzah, and Birchas Hamazon? And then the Gemara from there is going to go into the general rule that we have over there in Bavli Kedusha and Daf Chavtes and Daf Lamed Gimel, Daf Lamed Daled, that Noshim are exempt from mitzvahs aseh shahazman gerama. The Gemara is going to quote a Braisa. We're going to give unbelievable examples of what are those mitzvahs. We will actually learn a machlokes tanoim whether women have to wear tzitzis. According to the Chachamim, tzitzis is a mitzvahs aseh she'ein hazman gerama. True that we all paskin like Rab Shimon, but it's good to know that we actually paskin like the Das Yachid. That will be the first sugya. The next thing we'll learn today will be the following. Koydem kol, there is a rule called shoymei kohen. Listening is like stating. Second of all, there is a rule that kol Yisrael arevim zeh lo zeh, and therefore, just as an example, even if I already fulfilled the mitzvah, being that I am responsible for you, my fellow Jew, for you to fulfill the mitzvah, and until you do it, I'm chayiv to see that you do it, so I'm still chayiv b'davar. And therefore, I can do it on your behalf, even though I already did it for myself. All of that is going to be ultimately linked to, since we mentioned that women are obligated in the Birchas Hamazon, we're going to ultimately go back to whether women can bench on behalf of a man. There's going to be a lot of nuances in it, and the ending of the sugya, if we'll get there, will be that Amen, Shemei Koina is if you don't answer Amen. If you answer Amen, it's more than Shemei Koina. And we'll see how that actually is going to be applied in halacha l'mais. Now, before we begin with the Gemara, I do want to quickly say the following. We learned the Mishnah yesterday, Kishitas Charedim. The Charedim actually quotes the Tosfos, and there's a machlokes between Rashi and Tosfos and the Bavli, and that's the machlokes between the Pnei Moshe and the Charedim, and that is when the Mishnah began that Noshim v'avadim ukatanim p'tura mikriya Shema. So Noshim we get, Avadim we get. Remember, guys, in Chagiga there is a Gezeda Shava that links Avadim to Noshim. Why Noshim are exempt from Kriya Shema? Aleph, it's a mitzvah aseh shazman gerama, and Beis, like we spoke on from the Charedim, that since Shema's Kabbalah Somalchul Shemayim, you would have thought that even though it's a mitzvah aseh shazman gerama, maybe women should be chayiv because it's Kabbalah Somalchul Shemayim. That's why we'll begin today in the Gemara learning a special limit that they are exempt. Doesn't mean they can't do it. The women say Shema, but they're not uchayiv in Shema. Now, Ketanim is like this. We already learned the Charedim yesterday. And the Charedim makes a good point that when the Mishnah says Ketanim are Peturim, it must be that B'shaloi Higia L'Chinuch Hayri. I'm reading inside the Charedim. Why? Because if a child reaches the age of Chinuch, I'm reading in the Charedim, Vaday Mechan Chinoisa. That would be very logical. The problem with the Charedim, which is Shitas Tosfos, is that Rabbi Chaim Chapta, that when it says in the Mishnah V'chayovim B'tfilah, who are we talking about? If we're speaking about a katan that's not Higia L'Chinuch, how can you say it's Chayiv B'tfilah? And that's why Tosfos says, and the Chayovim B'tfilah does not go on the cut. So it's not so good in the flow of the Mishnah. The Mishnah begins Nashim Avadim V'Ketanim, and the Ketanim is only for the P'turim, not for the Chayav. And the Rashi, therefore, and the Pnei Moshe quotes, the Rashi holds actually that the Ketanim is referring to a Katan Shegiya L'Chinuch. Look, guys, let's read inside just one thing we did only yesterday. The Pnei Moshe, second to last line on Daf Lamed Vavam at Beis, and that is what Rashi writes over there in Bab. And that is Ketanim afilu katan shegiya l'chin. And by the way, that will be why he's chayiv in tefillah, not chayiv midoraisa, chayiv because of chinuch. That's why a katan is chayiv in mezuzah and chayiv in birchas hamazon. Well, hold on. So why would he not be chayiv in Shema? Oh, lo yitilu alol of lechanchoy b'kriyas Shema. Why? Because the fish ain't no matzi etzli b'oines kriyas Shema. It's amazing. In other words, Shema. We keep on learning, but that's the beginning of bracha. Shema has a specific time, and the father is going to work early in the morning. So chinuch means that who's chayiv in chinuch? The father has to be mechanech his son. The father is not going to be with the son during the time of Shema. That's the pshat. So even though theoretically the child has to faket, Chayredim already quoted that a minor, when he begins to speak of a malamdoi, that's from Limud HaTorah. Torah Tziva Lanu Moshe, Shema Yisrael. But the mitzvah of Shema, to say it ideally by Netzach Hamu, who says the father is going to be there, that's the meaning of the Mishnah. And by Tefillin, because since he's Einei Dei Lishma Asatzimai, okay, that's so that's a machlekes Rashi in Tosfos. Or let's go when we're learning Yerushalmi, Charedim and Pnei Moshe. And this nuance, let's see how much time we have. It's a loaded daf, is going to be very negay on how to learn pshat in the subsequent Gemara. We are up to Daf Lamed Zayin Amud Aleph, 2 lines from the top in the beginning of the Gemara. The Gemara is asking, we're going to learn with the Charedim, Nashin Minay, and look inside the Charedim. We spoke it out. Says the Charedim, what's the kash of the Gemara? What do you mean? Why? From where do we know that women are exempt? So why do we even need a limud? Answers the Charedim, without a special exclusion. Beautiful. Back inside the Gemara. And what's the limud? It says in the second portion of Shema, so we're going first to the mitzvah of teaching Torah, which is connected to the mitzvah of learning Torah. And from there, Chazal learn es benechem, v'loy es b'noisechem. And therefore, hold on, the Gemara, especially in the Babli, is very short. In the Yerushalmi is short. So hold on, we're asking, how do I know that women are exempt from Shema? Answers the Gemara, because you don't have to teach your daughters Torah. What are you talking about? Let's read inside that Asherilio. It's amazing how the others don't even speak it out that much. So that's in the right-hand column in the middle. From here, we only see, says the Rash, that women are exempt from learning Torah. Now, even it's automatic. You have to know by yourself now. So then, Peturim mitfilin. Look how many steps the Gemara is not speaking out. Why are they parted from tefillin? Because the Torah makes a hekish between Talmud Torah and tefillin, right? You have that both in the first parsha and in the second parsha, even though the seder is different. Now, why do we need to have this hekish? Like, why do we even need to have a hekish that women are exempt from tefillin? Another kasha, isn't tefillin mitzvah seisha azman gerama? So he says no. The itzrach mishum. If without this, one might have thought that we should be makish tefillin to mezuzah. Women are chayiv in mezuzah. So you would think women are chayiv in tefillin. No. So first of all, they're exempted from Torah. Tefillin were makish to tefillin. Why are we makish tefillin to Torah, not to tefillin? Not to mezuzah. We already learned that because tefillin and mezuzah are only back to back in the first parsha. In the second parsha, they're not back to back. In both parshiyos, Talmud Torah and tefillin go together. Parsha Rishona, first Torah and then tefillin. Parsha Achrona, first ukshartem and then Talmud Torah. But therefore, bottom line, since tefillin is juxtaposed to Talmud Torah in both parshiyos, so therefore women are exempt from Torah. They are exempt from tefillin. And now the end of Rashi Lili of Kriyash Manami is Kashla Talmud Torah. Where do you have that? All of that the Gemara doesn't have to speak out. Because since it says, Es benechem l'dabo mishitru b'veisecha, Gevaldik. No, it's juxtaposed to Talmud Torah. You have the mitzvah of reading the Shema. So therefore, women are exempt from the whole thing. And you need the special limit. Beautiful. Back in the Gemara. Now, Avodah Minayin. And here again comes the kasha. We have in Chagiga that there is a hekish, there is a gzeda shava between an Eved and a woman. So why do we need to have a special exclusion for Avodah? For the same reason. Because, like the Charedim said, maybe Shema would be different. Shema is Kabbalah so Malchus Shemayim. An Eved has a Jewish neshama, an Eved that went to the mikvah l'shem avdus, and you would think they're chayiv. Since it says Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, and the pshat or nigla of Hashem Elokeinu is that God is my master. And since an Eved has another master over him, over her, they are not exclusive. the God is not their only master. We have this type of logic we have to accept. So that person is chayv in saying the Shema Yisrael. But Yotzo ha'eved sheyesh loy adoin achet. Now, another layer over here. Since we have this hekesh or the Gezerah Shav and Chagiga, so there are some that learn pshat that why do we need to have the Shema Yisrael for the Chatzi Eved Chatzi Ben Choyed? In other words, a Chatzi Eved Chatzi Ben Choyed is chayv in many mitzvahs. He's no longer like the Eved. Even such an Eved, since Chatzi Eved, he has one master. He's not mechuyev in saying the Shema. Chatzi means that two partners owned the Eved Kanani that went, and then one of them emancipated him. In technicality, one day he works for himself, and one day for the Eved. And ultimately, we learned that the Beshamai, Beisilul was made to Beshamai that he has to be freed. But until he is freed, he's exempt. Evedivity is a bona fide Jew. He's chayv in all the mitzvahs. All the avodim is Eved Kanani. No. It's not. He's an Eved like your worker is an Eved. A whole different type of Avos. Okay, now, now, guys, I know for the sake of time, we learned yesterday the Charedim, which is Toysus. Actually, I want you to know that in Toysus was there, if you have time, the Zri and Rabbeinu Tam. The Charedim interpreted our Mishnah Keshitas Rabbeinu Tam. And we're going to just go with that. If not, it's going to get too complicated. So the Mishnah is speaking about a cotton shelo yigia lechinuch. But here we have a problem. The Gemara is asking, Tanaminayin, that they don't say the Shema. If a cotton is shelo yigia lechinuch, what's even the question? He's lo yigia lechinuch. Here again, we have to add, even though he shelo yigia lechinuch, since we're speaking about Kabbalas oil malchus shamayim, we would think that even prior, every now and then, at least the father should chaparain and say Shema with his child. It means when a cotton is not a yigia lechinuch, we know this from little kindlech. It means you can't be consistent with them. But maybe still every now and then push this on them. Similarly, when it comes to the tefillin, the Gemara wants to know that even though you have to have a guf nachi, we're speaking about a cotton shelo yigia lechinuch, if there is a moment where the child will have a guf nachi. You know your child. He just relieved himself. You know how his body works. You know that right now you can put tefillin on him for 30 seconds and say the Shema. Maybe you would think, do it. For that we have a special exclusion since it says in Parshas Boy, Laman tia toiras Hashem beficha, which is amazing. Laman tia toiras Hashem beficha. Again, you have to get used to the way Chazal understand the psukim. That God's Torah should be in your mouth means in its bones consistently. If something is not constantly in you, it's not in your mouth. It's in your mouth. Your mouth means that you're constantly with it. Which means that if being that the child, let's go with the Charedim, he's not a Giya Lechinuch. And by the way, even according to the Pnei Moshe, even according to Rashi, even a Katan Shigiya Lechinuch, like we spoke out, but he's not always with you. So mitzad, the mitzvah of teaching a kid Torah began already. It began Misha Yadei Ladabit. But the mitzvah of Shema, the mitzvah of Tefillin, are mitzvahs connected with consistency. Amazing. And if not, you're not there yet. This is not to make away, God forbid, in any way, shape, or form, the concept of mitzvah tefillin. Of course, we're not talking about that. We're talking about whether, let's go with the Charedim, whether you would think that a father is chayiv, koidim shegiya lechinuch, the chaparain, whenever he could, and put tefillin and say Shema with the child, zoisloi. Because this is something that we want to be machanach our children to do consistently. That's a better way of wording it. But sometimes, if the child is not ready to do it consistently, don't even begin yet. Don't allow the child to feel, I'm all nisht. Tefillin is not sometimes, I'm talking about a father being mechanech the child. Now, of course, if you have a golus and you have tinik shenishba and never putting on tefillin, of course, one time makes the person into a karkafta shemunach tefillin, which is the greatest thing in the world. Okay, right. Oh, so when it comes to Shema, much younger, listen. Let's go to the Upshadanish. I would say that's Shegiya Lechinuch. Let's go with Tosfos. Your only example when Shelo Yigia Lechinuch. Let's go with that. Yeah, that's why they have it in the Siddur. For little kinderlach, you say Shema every day, you put on tzitzis. And when it comes to tefillin, because of guf naki, that's from the only mitzvahs that even though we're machanach our kids to be from, tefillin we don't put on. We don't put now. On the other hand, like I mentioned, Menek Chabad is, we put it on 2 months before our mitzvah. They're not chayiv. We are machanach them. but very close to the bar mitzvah. That's the only mitzvah that we only begin very close to the bar mitzvah because of gufnaki. And then you have Yechidei Segula that Taka put on tefillin early. Let's go right. Now the three that the Mishnah mentions that let's go now with the Charedim that Noshim and Avadim are chayiv because it can mean katanim because katanim anashaloi gia lechinu. And what is that? Tefillah, mezuzah, and birchas hamazon. So let's begin with tefillah. So we want to know why are women mechayiv in tefillah. Now, I just want to explain it. So, it's amazing. The Rambam writes, women are chayiv. The Rambam writes, because biblically, it's shalabas mangarama. That's not what the Gemara says. Don't forget that even if tefillah is midoiraisa, there's machlekes rishonim whether tefillah is doiraisa. Even if we're going to go with the shita that tefillah is doiraisa, there's no zman tefillah. When are you supposed to daven? Whenever you feel like it. So it's not time bound. That would have been an answer. The Gemara does not give that answer. The Gemara is saying that even though tefillah is, let's say, is man gerama, let's view tefillah as you have to daven shachris, daven mincha. The Alter Rebbe says women have to daven shachris and mincha midoiraisa. Why? Because every person needs rachamim. Women need rachamim just like men need. Right. Now, mezuzah. Now, the question with mezuzah is, Pshita, of course women are chai. Why does the Gemara have to find a reason for mezuzah? Of course the chai of mezuzah, but we just learned that Asherilio. No. Since mezuzah is written together with Talmud Torah and Tefillin, and we just learned that women are exempt from those two, so why don't we make a hekesh to say that the Tefillin they're exempt, then mezuzah they're exempt? Why don't we make that hekesh? That's why you need to have a reason. Mezuzah, because since it says, again, I want to say like this, that the Yerushalmi is so brief. What's missing over here? Not missing for people like us, is that, and therefore the Charedim quotes from Kedushin, Bavli, Daf Lamed Dalet. What comes after Uchsafto? We're speaking about the second parsha. What steht später? L'man yirbu yemechem. That's really what the Gemara says. L'man yirbu yemechem. In other words, that mezuzah adds years to your life. Women have to live like men have to live. Don't be makish at the tefillin, because since the Torah juxtaposes after mezuzah, long life, again, the Yerushalmi is bekitzer. That's the way let's say that that's the meaning. Because since it says, and then it says, and what like I'm quoting the words that Charedim quotes from the Bavli. What men need to live. Women don't have to live. Of course, women need to live. So be makish mezuzah to what it says later, not to what it says before. Next. Of course, they live in a house. Question is, of course, they have a chinots. Why do we even have to have a proof that they're chayiv? Of course, it's not zman gerama. That's a kasha on the kasha. The answer is because you would have thought you're makish at the tefillin. Both the paragraphs, very good. The truth is that tefillin is juxtaposed to mezuzah only in the second paragraph. In the first paragraph, mezuzah is juxtaposed to limud Torah. You'll see it's tefillin, then v'limadet temoisam, and then uchsaftam. It doesn't matter. But also, they're exempt from Talmud Torah. In other words, if you go, you're makish to the past, they should be exempt. You're makish to the future, to l'man yirbu, they're chayiv. Next, birchas hamazon. Now again, why would you even think women are exempt from birchas hamazon? Why do you need to have a proof that they're chayiv? Of course, why should they not be chayiv? We already quoted the Charedim, because in Parshas B'Shalach it says, "V'seis Hashem lochem bo erev," etc. V'lechem abayker lisboya. It's Moshe Rabbeinu worded to the Yidden that manna, which only fell once a day, but he told them eat in the morning and at night. So since you eat, like we said, twice a day, you would think it's man gerama. Nevertheless, you do have to say it. Women are chayiv in birchas hamazon. Because since it says, it means whenever you're satisfied, bless Hashem, if you, because you are a mensch, you're civilized, and therefore you have fixed times for eating, which is part of being civilized, the eating is man gerama. The benching is not zman gerama. The benching is whenever you're visavata ubeirachta. Beautiful. Okay. Whenever you're sad, that's not zman gerama. Whenever you're sad, if a person would eat 50 times a day, Whenever when the mitzvah is connected not to a time, it's connected to you being satisfied. If you Vlad, because you're civilized, choose to become satisfied only twice a day, but the mitzvah of benching is whenever you're satisfied. It's not Zman Gerama. It's not Zman Gerama. Think about it. I don't want to get too far off topic, but there are some who hold. Listen, everyone, women don't say Kiddush Levan. But most people say, yeah, they don't say Kiddush Levan because it's Zman Gerama. Some people say it's not Zman Gerama. Whenever you see the moon b'chidusha, you have to be mevarach the levana. It happens to be that you'll only see the moon b'chidusha once a month. It's like the benching. The moon will only appear once a month, but the obligation is whenever it happens. There are other reasons why they are exempt. And let's go back. Now, we got to move. No. Like men, that's going to be the whole lead. The two topics we're learning today. Let's finish this topic. The next topic about Shemei Ko'ina is to come back to women. Since they're chayiv, they can bench from men. They have the equal chayiv. If a woman is only chayiv midrabanan, she cannot be mevarach for a man who's chayiv d'oraisa. A woman can bench. We'll see. We'll get to them all. Taman tanina, and taman means over there misaktas kedushin. Kedushin daf chavtes. Chom mitzvah seishas man gerama. Anoshim chayovim v'hanoshim peturais. However, b'chom mitzvah seish lo yazman gerama. The words of the Mishnah. Now the Gemara is going to quote here in the Yerushalmi Yabraisa. That's going to give examples, and it's going to be amazing when it comes to tzitzis. So let's go. Ezu mitzvah seisha zman gerama sukkah. Why is it zman gerama? Guys, you have to sit in the sukkah day and night, but only during Chag HaSukkos. That's called zman gerama. Lulav only during the daytime of the 7 days of Sukkos. Shofar only on Rosh Hashanah, and tefillin. Nekuda. Why tefillin? Because the night is not a zman l'tefillin, according to some opinions. That's a machlokes tanoim. Also, Shabbos and Yom Tov is not a zman of tefillin. But we learned above in Yerushalmi that there are some tanoim that held that the night is the zman of tefillin, and Shabbos and Yom Tov is the zman of tefillin. Nevertheless, with the Rabbanan, women don't put on tefillin because of the guf naki. But if that would have been the case, if that was such a havamina, then it would make sense for women to take upon themselves to put on tefillin if they know they have a guf naki. Masha'enkin, if tefillin is as man gerama, which is the way we paskin, which means that midoraisa they're not chayiv. On top of that, there's an issue of guf naki. Then they're not allowed to be machmar upon themselves. And indeed, that's what the Ramah writes. When it gets tzitzis, the Ramah says they're not chayiv, but if they put on tzitzis, guzum tehei. By tefillin, the Ramah says if a woman puts on tefillin, you have to make a protest. Rashi's daughters are not put on tefillin, that's a sheker. I don't know who people. Michal Bashol, put it on. That's the Gemara says, which is a better source. Yeah, and we explained already there, guf naki. Guf naki means that you put it on after menopause. That's what guf naki means by a woman. Okay, right. Now, the ezu mitzvahs asay, she'ein azman gerama, aveda. Again, the same thing. Whenever you find it, if you find a lost article, you have to return it. Shiluach hakein, Maicha, you have a roof that people can walk on, you have to build a fence, and tzitzis. Wow. Tzitzis is the Chachamim's shita. This is das roiv. Even though we don't paskin like Rabbi, we paskin like the Yachid, that they hold. Now, why do the Chachamim hold that women are chayiv and tzitzis? So we're going to have a big machlokes Bavli in Yerushalmi. There's not enough time. For those who remember the Bavli, good for you. We're going to learn a unique way. This what we're going to learn now. You're not going to find in the Bavli. First, we're going to learn the Tanoi before the Bir. The Chachamim say that tzitzis is mitzvah say she love. Shaloi hazman geram. Women are mechuyev to put on tzitzis. Now, Rab Shimon pointed as hanoshim mitzvah tzitzis. Only one. Why? Shehi mitzvah say shehazman geram. Before we read the next line, I just want people to read inside. I'm reading inside the Charedim. Says the Charedim that upasku kol hapoiskim kavose, which is a chiddush. In other words, normally Yachid v'Rabim. Here he's saying that in the Chanami, it's the Chachamim against Rab Shimon. Nevertheless, all of the poskim paskin like Rab Shimon, that it's mitzvah saseh, the shazman geram. Now hold on. Now let's understand the way Yerushalmi will learn the pshat in their machlokes. Oh, wait. So says Rab Shimon, Shaharei, this is so important. Ksus laila pater min hatzitzis. Now, what it's extremely important is to know, chevre, that we're going to teach here in the Yerushalmi the meaning of ksus yoim and the meaning of ksus laila. There's a machlokes how to learn pshat. Here in the Yerushalmi, based on what we're going to learn, ksus yoim is a garment that's meant to be worn during the day. Ksus laila is a garment that's meant to be worn during the night. The Yerushalmi learns, not like the Bavli, lekula alma, even the Chachamim. When it says ureisem oisoi, everyone learns that teaches you that a garment that's meant to be worn at night, which is not the time that you can see, is exempt. So hold on. So why do the Chachamim say that tzitzis is a lo yasman gerama? Because lekula alma, bein lechachamim, bein lerab Shimon, a ksus yoim is chayiv to have tzitzis even if you wear it at night. A ksus laila, according to the Yerushalmi, lekula alma doesn't have to have tzitzis even if you wear it during the day. I'll give you an example. Don't jump out of your seat of ksus laila. Your blanket. A blanket is four-cornered. And no people say it's not a garment. Halachically, it's a garment because you get into your blanket. Why don't you have to put on tzitzis on the blanket? Because it's a ksus laila. And even if you chapas snooze during the day, if they let you, I'm a lustnish, you don't have to put on tzitzis because that's the way we take a pshat. The ksus laila is spotted even by yoim. Guys, remember this. That's the way the Yerushalmi learns all this. I know there's different ways that's in the Bavli. And a ksus yoim is chayv even by laila. Now you have the machlokes. The Chachamim hold that since there is a garment, which is a ksus yoim, that has to have tzitzis, bein by yoim, bein by laila, that garment woman have to have tzitzis on. Like a manasha. A ksus laila is completely exempt. The ksus yoim is always chayiv. So it's saying as man gerama. Rabbi Shimon holds that since there is a concept, since a garment of night is exempt, it makes the whole tzitzis into a mitzvah saseh shazman geram. You see, you need that. It has to be connected to a time for it to be chayiv. Or is it about when you wear it, or is it about the garment? That's gavaldik. Let's read it inside. Shreksus laila. That's what I put them in tzitzis. Now, Amar Ablayo, Hamon de Rabbanon. You know what the Bavli says? The Bavli says that the Chachamim hold, Uri'isam Oisai is teaching you something completely different. In the Bavli, we learned that the Chachamim hold that Uri'isam Oisai is for something else. They hold that every garment is chayiv. It's much simpler. Here it's gavaldik. The Yerushalmi is takamoid. The Chachamim, like the Rabbi Shimon, hold Uri'isam Oisai is excluding ksus laila. But, however, Gemara says another little connection. Not only is a ksus yoim, according to the Yerushalmi, according to everyone, chayev tzitzis by yoim u'balayla. What happens if you have a garment which is made both for day and for night, for both? You're also chayev. It's the only exclusion from Uri'isa Moisa. Bein lechacham and bein lerab Shimon is a garment that's exclusively meant for the night, which is a blanket, which is for night, or pajamas. Another garment that's meant for the night, that is exempt not only at night, also by day. But if you have a garment, not only a garment that was only made l'yoyim, even if it was made both l'yoyim or l'layla, that you chayiv in tzitzis, so therefore tzitzis. If it's a ksus laila, there's no chiyuv to begin with. If it's ksus yoyim chayiv in laila, so it's a mitzvah saseh she'enas man gerama. Rabbi Shimon holds, no. Rabbi Shimon holds, I know that the garment will always have to have tzitzis. But the fact that whether it's mechuyev or not is dependent whether it was made for the day or for the night, that categorizes it. This is a deep thing, and we can go further, but let's go back. According to the Chachamim and Rabbi Shimon, according to the Yerushalmi, according to everyone, a garment, the Rabbi Chaim is speaking about what we call the talos katan. A talos katan was meant, don't say a talos katan was not meant to be worn at night. Why? A talos katan is a garment. Maybe the other argument is atake pajamas is a ksus laila. I don't know. That would be the argument. No, it's we don't paskin that it's mechoyev. We do it anyways. I'll give you an example. The reason, No, a talis cotton is mechoyev. Why not? A talis cotton is a garment that has. I'm not mechoyev to put it on. I'm not mechoyev to wear it, but the garment has to have tzitzis on. Yeah. Well,
Rabbi, does goof not apply to
the reason? Just to add in if you remember, we learned that it's a big daf. The reason why the Chachamim said that you're not allowed to wear a garment of linen, even though a garment of linen, 4 corners, is mechoyev and tzitzis. Why did they say that? Because since tzitzis ideally should have tchelis can only be on wool, and enachnami you can put wool on linen mitzvah, but since at night that garment you don't have to wear, you're not mechoyev at night. So at night you're going to be wearing shatnez. So that's why never wear shatnez with tzitzis. Now, if we're going to learn pshat that a garment that's made bein layoim or bein lalaylos chayiv and tzitzis, which is the Yerushalmi, it's a whole different sugya, then you're chayiv at night also. And according to everyone, the question would be maybe you can argue that a talus cotton listaka only meant to be worn by day. I take it back. You're chayiv and tzitzis. According to the Yerushalmi, it's chayiv and tzitzis. It's good to know that. Okay, we're learning. It's different. Let's go right now. We're learning a new topic, and again, the reason why we're learning this is because we want to get back. Now that the Mishnah established that women are chayiv mido oiraisa in benching, therefore, when 2 yidden are equally obligated in any mitzvah, in many cases, not all, I cannot put on tefillin for you. I get that, but I can do certain mitzvahs for you. How does it work? Especially mitzvahs that are connected to speech. Number 1, Shemeya Ko'ena. Shemeya Ko'ena means if the listener doesn't even answer Amen. Listening is like stating, but that only works if both are equally chayiv. So you would think, if I already fulfilled my obligation, I cannot make it for you because I still have to make it for you. I'm chayiv because you didn't do it. Why? Because Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelozah. Now, there is a few exceptions. I'll give you an exception, even though we'll learn more inside. Birchas HaNehenen. If I'm chayiv, I can make it for you. I'm chayiv. If I didn't make a shahako and I make it loud, you can be yotzim. But if I already made it, I cannot make it for you. We don't say Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelozeh because you're not chayiv to eat. Benching is different. Once you're 8, you're chayiv to bench. Therefore, even though I already benched, we'll get there, I can make it for you. Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelozeh. Even though that's not going to be the case, as we'll see in a moment. But just the concept that where we apply this is Kiddush. I'll give you an example. Kiddush, even though there's a Brichas HaNehenen part of Kiddush, I'm chayiv to make Kiddush. I'm chayiv to make Kiddush. And on wine, at least midrabanan, I'm chayiv. And you are also chayiv. Even though I made Kiddush, I made the Yom HaShishi, I made the Boyer Piyah Gofen, and I made the Mekadosh HaShabbos. Another Jew walks in here, I can make Kiddush again for them. And again, and again. I was already exempted because I'm chayiv, Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelozeh. And now Shemeya Ko'ena, even if he doesn't answer Amen. Now let's read it inside. It says, Wait. So, wait. Let's go. There's so much to speak. Let's go. Tani Milan to Nabrais. Kol mitzvah, she'adam patur. Even though I'm already exempted, Adam Pater says that in Moshe, not that I'm pater essentially. Pater means I already did it for me. I was already yoitzer. Nevertheless, Adam Moitzi is why? Because Kol Yisrael Arevim Zelozeh. So I'm not pater. How am I pater? I'm responsible for you to do it. The Baal Shem Tov Taich Kol Yisrael Arevim. Arevim means 3 things, says the Baal Shem Tov. The pshat of Arevim and Igla is I'm an Arev. I'm responsible. Arevim means that a Yid should find sweetness in another Yid. And Arevim means that we are intertwined. And all of them are, all these 3 pshatim are all really the same thing. Okay, let's go back from Eruv. Now, Chutz and Berchas HaMaz is this big. Now, first of all, to know that there are other gersois here in the Yerushalmi that says Chutz min Berchas min Atfila v'Kishma u'Berchas HaMaz. And Chutz min Atfila v'Kishma u'Berchas HaMaz. And let me explain what that means. Look inside the Charedim. Tani kol habrachas kosof haran beperik basa de Rosh Hashanah. Afal gav the kaimel kol habrachas kul and afal pishi yotza moitzi. Kvar hoitzioi, we excluded from this rule Now we're going to go. We see that Ran, as we just quoted, had this girsa. Birchas hamazon. What does that mean, David? That if I already fulfilled my obligation, I cannot make it for you. Kriya Shema again means if I fulfilled my obligation, I can't make it for you. And Tefillah means if I fulfilled my obligation, I can't make it for you. These are the three exceptions. Now hold on a second. People think Tefillah, the whole Chazaras Hashatz is for that. And who's doing Chazaras Hashatz? The Baal Tefillah already davened. So therefore you have to add. This is the whole Gemara has to have this addition. What are we talking about? All of the chutz, if the other person knows how to do it. If the other person knows how to do it, but I didn't bench, I can bench loud for them. If I already bench and the other person knows how to bench, if I already daven Shmoina Esrei and the other person knows how to, that's what we are excluding. That's the first white line in the Charedim. What about Hani Mili? Kishu Yoidei Alavarach. So there's two things, Vlad. Aleph, the guy making it already did it. I already did it. And you know how to do it, that's where I cannot do it for you. But if you don't know how to do it, even though I already did it, that's very important. So now we have, that's the Yesod. So in other words, the chutz, without this, you don't know what you're learning. So a couple of steps. If I did not fulfill my obligation, even though you know how to bench, I can bench for you. No, the first time. If I already, we said chutz, but I'm limiting the chutz. We're limiting the chutz. If I didn't bench yet, I can always make it for you. If I already benched, but you don't know how to bench, you don't know how to say the words, I can make it for you. If I already benched and you know how to bench, then we don't say Shemei HaKohen. That's the chutz. And it's only three things. By all other mitzvahs, let me go contrast with Kiddush. If I already made Kiddush and you know how to make Kiddush, I am allowed to make Kiddush for you. I'm not talking about women. I'm speaking about men. Means if I made Kiddush and a Jew walks into the shul, that happens by all our Chabad houses, and they know how to make Kiddush. Doesn't matter. I could make it for them. By Birchas Hamazon, no. Just in that window. If I didn't bench, I can bench for anyone. If the other person doesn't know how to bench, I can bench and bench again. Okay, got it. Now, a lot. No. I'm saying the link will be back to women in a moment. Benching. That's the link. That's the flow. Let's go. Now, Chazaras Hashatz, we just learned. It's for the people who don't know how to daven. No, we just learned that. One more time. You're davening on behalf of all the people that are not even in the shul also. That's another layer to that. Now says the Gemara, this is like we learned, this is a Mishnah in Rosh Hashanah, which implies then you'll be moitzi. So now the kasha is, why doesn't it work by Birchas Hamazon? Why doesn't it work with Birchas Hamazon? In other words, why don't we say, since Kol Yisrael Arivim Zebozeh, why would Birchas Hamazon be an exception? Let me bench for me and bench for you. We're both equally chayiv. Answers the Gemara, Amar Ablaya, because it says by Birchas Hamazon, Ve'achalto v'sovato v'irachtos Hashem Alekecha, meaning Mishu achalu yivarech. Again, it's so important that, but nevertheless, we're limiting it. Look inside the Pnei Moshe, like the Charedim. Even though the Gemara is saying, you ate, you bench. You know when we say this, Vlad? If I already fulfilled my obligation. Look inside the last line of, then. But if I didn't bench yet, I can always bench for you. And if you don't know how to bench, I can invite the bench for you. But if I already benched, and you know how to bench, that's where we say Birchas Hamazon is an exception. Says the Gemara, 1 second. A couple of questions. Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yudah ben Pazi, Havoi Mesivin Omru. Mesivin can either mean they were sitting, but here it's a pshat Mesivin from Hasiv that they were asking rhetorical questions. They were asking that Lo mistabra b'kriya shema sheyehei kol echad ve'echad b'shanan b'fiv lo mistabra b'tfila sheyehei kol echad ve'echad atzmai. Look inside the Pnei Moshe. He has a little bit of a different version, and he says that they're making the following point. Koloimer says the Pnei Moshe, Maishnak Trishma Mitzvila, Bedina de Masnisin, Diktona de Chayovan, Hem Mitzvila. Why did our Mishnah say that women are chayiv in tefillah? Why are women chayiv in tefillah? There was a havamina that they should be exempted. There's connected to time, and the answer is because rachamim, everyone has to say for themselves. Like we learned before, Kriyishma should also be something that everyone should have to say on their own. Why? Because since it says vishinamtam. It means you have to say it. Well, just like we said over here by Birchas Hamazon, certain things everyone has to do on their own. So they're asking a rhetorical question: would we not make the same chutz like we do for tefillah, for Shema? And like we mentioned, some people think I have that girsa and enachanami. It's not a kasha without an answer. They're right. Chutz mi Birchas Hamazon and Kriya Shema and davening. Like the Charedim says, if the other person knows, if you know how to daven and I already davened, if you know how to say the Shema and I already said the Shema, like by Birchas Hamazon, then Taka, I cannot do it for you. We don't say Kol Yisrael Arevim Zebozeh. Let's go back. That's the way it is. Now that we mentioned these two Amirayim, they asked another question that's not directly related. But that question is predicated on something that people don't know. To nowadays, we paskin like the Bavli, which is that when you walk into the sukkah on Chag HaSukkos, even though in one sitting I only make one leishav basukkah, but if I leave the sukkah, however you're going to go into the details, at some point when I come back, I make a new leishav basukkah. The Yerushalmi is based on the rule that they had that you make one leishav basukkah in the beginning of sukkahs, and that's it. There's a mitzvah to sit in the sukkah for 7 days. The first night you make a leishav basukkah. And you never make a leisha basuk. That mitzvah is extended. So they asked these two Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Yehuda, ma bein sukkah bein lulav. In other words, sukkah ein tuna bracha elo leilu yom tidush b'lvad. And lulav tuna bracha kol shiva. Why? Why is there a difference? To which they answered, Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Acha have a Yossi and Amr, and I'll tell you the answer. Now it's interesting. This Rabbi Yossi, is that the Rabbi Yossi with Rabbi Yehuda ben Pazi? I don't know. Maybe the same one that asked with another chavrusa came to the answer. Maybe it's another Rabbi Yossi. That what? I'll tell you. Ma bein sukkah, ma bein lulav. See how they worded it? It's a different wording. Sukkah neheges balayos alayam. Sukkah, you're obligated to eat. You're obligated to sleep. No, if you walked out of the sukkah, that's your choice. But it's shaykh to live in the sukkah for 7 days and to constantly be fulfilling a mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that goes straight for 7 days. So even though you left, I don't care. The fact that it's shaykh, that one bracha, to go straight for 7 days when you are awake and when you're sleeping, that there's no hefsek. Dafka not at night. That means if someone takes the lulav at night, they have to take the lulav again by day. Beautiful. Next. So much emphasis on where you're from in Israel, from the south or from the Yerushalmi, which also means the north. And therefore, what's the kasha? We have to learn Torah our entire life. You should become bar mitzvah, make once a birchas Torah, and that you're good. You're chayiv by day and by night. Answers the Gemara, my kedoin. What are you talking about? How can you compare one to the other? Sukkah, efsher law. Let's go with the girsa shaloi libatel. Being that the mitzvah is also to sleep in the sukkah, like we mentioned, it's possible. I know that not everyone will be there. But you can be in the sukkah and fulfill the mitzvah, they say here in English, 24/7. Learning Torah you can't do at night. So it's not something that you could do the whole time. There is a break. Now, we're not saying that if you stayed up, that's another whole machlokes. In Shulchan Aruch, you have both shittas. What happens if you stayed up during the night? Taka two opinions. But in concept, people cannot stay up the whole time. Talmud Torah, eventually you'll have to go to sleep. And the Poyal Mamush, we make it twice. We make it every day in the morning, and when you get called up to the Torah, we ain't kind of up. Now, just the link says the Gemara. Tani, we learned in the Braisa. Avol Amru. Avol Amru also means be'emes Amru. Be'emes Amru or Avol Amru means that everyone accepts, universally accepted, that Isha mevorachas l'bayla. Isha mevorachas l'bayla. Here we're speaking about. We just had Chutz Birchas Hamazon. That's why you have to learn the Charedim. When do we say chutz birchas hamazon? If the other person knows how to do it. If I already benched and you know how to bench, I cannot make it for you. If I made kiddush and you know how to make kiddush, I could make kiddush for you. If I benched and you know how to bench, I cannot repeat it for you. But that you know how to bench. If you don't know how to bench, I could make it for you. But 1 second, how can I make it for you? Because we are both equally obligated. Now, just the link. Now that we learned in the Mishnah that women are obligated like men, a woman can bench for her husband. Either lechatchila, the first time she's benching, or even if she benched and the husband doesn't know how to bench, she can bench for him. Why? Because they're both equally obligated. And but here the Brisa says a statement that is shocking. The katan la'aviv. Now that's a problem. Because for katan la'aviv, they're not equally obligated. They're not equally obligated. How can a katan bench for his father? So, okay. So the Gemara is, it's 7 o'clock. I don't mind leaving it with Akash. This is such a geshmak. So it's Pasha the Chaval Terwan. So we're going to end it in the end of the Brisa. Make a mark over here that the Brisa says that a katan can be mevarach la'aviv, and that can't be because they're not on the same obligation. Shemea ka'ina is because they're equally obligated. So that will have to be explained. And then after we'll explain that, we're going to add a very important layer to this whole sugya, which is the layer of answering Amen. How that changes everything, to be continued. It's late. Katan means correct.